The subtle realm, the door you've been passing through. Introduction. Every night, without ritual, without fanfare, you walk through a doorway. You've passed it thousands of times, softly, silently, without even noticing it was a door. To you, it felt like falling asleep. But to the part of you that never sleeps, it was a crossing, a return to the place beyond time, a reunion with the world just behind the world. This is the subtle realm, the place your consciousness travels to when your body goes still. The dimension woven between waking and dreaming, not a fantasy, not a metaphor, a real landscape of energy, memory, presence, and purpose. You have never been alone in it, but until now you've been blindfolded in its halls. You were taught that sleep is unconscious, that dreams are just the brain sweeping up mental clutter, that nothing of value happens after the lights go out. But something in you always knew that wasn't true. You've felt the echoes, the chills after certain dreams, the names you wake up whispering, the emotions that linger even when the story is gone. You've woken up more tired than before you went to bed, not because you didn't rest, but because part of you was working somewhere you can't quite recall, and that somewhere is here. The subtle realm. This is the space the ancients tried to map with myth, ritual, and symbol. The Egyptians knew it as the duat, the inner world of trials and teachings. The Tibetans called it the bardo of sleep, mirroring the bardo of death. Mystics spoke of it in veiled language, the inner sanctum, the field of forms, the shadow of light. And though each culture named it differently, the truth they pointed to was the same. When your eyes close, your soul opens, the body lies still, the breath slows, but the true self, the eternal self, begins to stir. It unhooks, it unfolds. It slips past the veil and enters the realm it has always known but forgotten how to see. You've been there. Every time you dreamed of flying, every time you felt watched in sleep, by love or by something older than time. Every time you woke up with knowledge you never studied. Every time a dream left behind a wound or a blessing. You don't just dream, you arrive. The subtle realm is not one place. It is layered like a spiral staircase stretching across dimensions. Some nights you touch only the surface, where dreams mimic your day, where the mind still clings to form, but deeper in, it begins to shift. Here, time loses its grip. Space becomes fluid, thoughts manifest instantly, and your soul begins to remember what the waking world asked it to forget. It is not limited, it is not linear, it is not alone. In this space, you meet fragments of yourself, versions of you in other lifetimes, other timelines. You receive messages in the form of symbols because in the subtle realm, language is vibration. You carry out missions you volunteered for before you were born. You walk alongside guardians who never left your side. You heal what no medicine can reach. You serve purposes your mind cannot comprehend, yet your soul recognizes as sacred. And yet, every morning, most of this dissolves. You wake, you stretch, you tell yourself, it was just a dream. But it wasn't. It was a chapter, a fragment, a visitation. And now, something in you is beginning to remember. That's why you're here. Because a deeper part of you is knocking, not to take you somewhere new, but to take you back to the space you've always traveled and show you how to walk through it awake. This audiobook is not a theory. It is not a myth or a metaphor. It is a mirror. It is a map. It is a whispered transmission from the other side of the veil, and as you listen, you will begin to feel it, not just as an idea, but as a recognition, a resonance in the body, a quickening in the soul, a voice that says, yes, I've been there, I know this. Because this isn't new. You've walked these paths in your dreams. You've carried messages back across the threshold. You've been the traveler, the dreamer, the healer, the messenger. You just forgot. Until now. So let this be your remembering. Let this be your conscious return to the subtle realm. As you continue, you will learn its phases, its guardians, its layers, its rules, and your role within it. You'll remember why you sometimes wake up weeping, Why did you know things you were never taught? Why do some dreams leave footprints on your soul? Because the subtle realm is not just where you go when you sleep. It is where you came from, and where you are always returning. It is the space between forms, the breath between thoughts, the place where your soul was never lost, only waiting. And now you are here, not to escape life, but to walk between worlds with your eyes wide open. Welcome to the subtle realm. Chapter 1. The Unseen Departure. When the body sleeps, the soul walks. It begins so quietly. The body stills, the breath softens, the eyelids fall like curtains on a stage, and without warning, the shift begins. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or light. It feels like floating, like forgetting your name, like being wrapped in a silence too vast to measure. You call it falling asleep. But what's actually happening is a departure. The body remains in the bed, yes, heavy, warm, anchored to the earth, but something inside you begins to unhook, gently, wordlessly. A part of you pulls back, like a tide receding from the shore, and before the mind can name it, your consciousness has crossed the veil. You've entered the subtle realm. This is not symbolic. This is literal, energetic, and vibrational, because you are not the body. You are the awareness within it, and awareness cannot be bound to flesh. It moves, it expands, it explores. Every night when the machinery of the body powers down for restoration, your consciousness slips into its natural state, unbound. It's as if the body says, "Go, I'll wait here." And so the soul goes. It does not need doors. It does not need time zones. It doesn't even need a plan. It simply responds to a rhythm that is older than the mind. The rhythm of release. In ancient texts, this movement was described with reverence. The Egyptians believed the bay, the soul bird, rose from the sleeping form to visit sacred realms. The Tibetans spoke of the dream body as a rainbow form, light-based and free to navigate the intermediate spaces. Mystical Christianity described it as the spirit entering the chambers of light. And in nearly every tradition, there is one shared belief. When the body sleeps, the soul walks. But how does it happen? How does the invisible you step out of the visible you? It begins with the loosening of the energetic tether. This cord, called the silver thread, the life strand, or the line of light, is not a poetic invention. It's a structure in the subtle realm, a shimmering connection that links your physical vessel to your subtle form. When you sleep, the cord stretches. It lengthens to allow your soul to explore. It's your lifeline between dimensions. As long as the cord remains intact, you can always return. It is said that at the moment of death, the cord snaps and the final crossing begins. But sleep is a rehearsal. Each night you simulate death without the consequences. You practice detachment without disappearance. You learn, quietly, gradually, how to loosen your grip on the physical without fear. This is why many spiritual masters call sleep a spiritual training ground. To sleep consciously is to prepare for the only moment in life you cannot postpone, the great letting go. You've felt it before. That split second between wakefulness and dream, when your body feels too heavy, but your mind feels like it's lifting. When you sense something pulling at your center, a soft unraveling. When you hear a hum, a tone, a pulse, just as your awareness slips away. That is not imagination. That is the moment of departure. The moment your awareness separates from the boundaries of bone and begins its nightly migration into the subtle realm. Some people experience it with clarity. They rise above their bed. They see their own body from the ceiling. They pass through walls. They float through cities or stars. Others don't see it, but they feel it, and most forget it, because remembering requires intention, and returning with memory requires practice. But the journey happens every single night. This is why you sometimes wake with knowledge you didn't have the day before. This is why you suddenly understand something that's been troubling you for months. This is why a dream can shatter a fear, or reveal a truth, or open a part of your heart you've never touched. Because while your body slept, you went somewhere. You left the cage of matter and walked into the library of the soul. You entered the subtle realm. What is this place? It's not out there. It's not in the stars or the clouds or some alternate universe. It's right here, layered invisibly over the material world. A realm of vibration, intuition, thought form, memory. It is shaped by intention, entered by surrender, and navigated by resonance. The deeper you go, the more symbolic it becomes. The more you release form, the more real the formless becomes. It is the soul's home. It is your nightly classroom, sanctuary, and sacred path. And you return to it again and again, not to escape the physical world, but to remember how to live in it with depth. So now that you know that the moment you fall asleep is actually the beginning of a sacred migration, what will you do with it? Will you continue to drift unconsciously, letting the lessons vanish with the morning light? Or will you begin to sleep with awareness? Will you breathe with reverence as the veil begins to part? Will you ask to be shown what your mind alone cannot grasp? Will you begin to listen to the silence? Because of that silence, it's not empty, it's full of doorways. And every night, without realizing, you walk through them. You walk. Chapter 2. The Ancient Science of the Subtle Realm. Before the modern world buried the night in noise and neon, before sleep was reduced to a biological necessity, before the soul was renamed subconscious, humanity knew a deeper truth. The night was sacred, and sleep was a door, not a break from life, but a return to the hidden half of reality, the half we now call the subtle realm. The ancients didn't treat dreams as irrelevant or irrational. They treated them as oracles, as messages, as maps to higher worlds. They built temples, not for waking prayers, but for sleeping visions. They trained initiates not to avoid the dark, but to enter it with awareness. And what they left behind is not just myths or poetry. They are coded instructions for how to travel the subtle realm with intention. In ancient Egypt, the subtle realm had a name, Duat. It was not just the land of the dead, it was the place of transformation. The Egyptians held that every night while they slept, the soul or Ba departed from the body. It was tried, it was regenerated, it journeyed, and it met guides. And those who were able to traverse Duat with mastery in death would also have learned to do it consciously in their dreams. They were not afraid of sleep, they got ready for it. To create certain dream experiences, high initiates would use geometrically aligned sleeping rooms, sacred oils, and incantations. Walls were painted not for beauty, but to serve as visual reminders for the journey, symbols to anchor the traveler. Because to them, the subtle realm wasn't abstract. It was as real as the Nile, only invisible to the eyes and felt by the soul. Far to the east, Tibetan masters understood sleep as the gateway to the bardo, the same dimension passed through at the moment of death. To sleep unconsciously was to squander a holy rehearsal. But to sleep with awareness was to become liberated in the dream. They trained monks to fall asleep while remaining aware, to observe the separation, to navigate the dream space as if it were the afterlife, because it is. They practiced a form of yoga not of posture but of the night, dream yoga, an esoteric art that taught the practitioner to maintain lucidity as the body slipped into stillness. They believed the night offered the highest spiritual training, not because of what it showed you, but because of what it allowed you to become in the absence of form. In the temples of Greece, seekers traveled not for rest, but for revelation. Those who sought healing didn't go to a physician. They went to the temple of Asclepius to sleep. There, in sacred silence, dream incubation was performed. Initiates would lie in dark stone rooms. They would fast, pray, speak invocations, and then they would dream. They didn't ask for escape. They asked to meet the gods, to receive cures, to face their shadows. And they often did. Healers were trained to interpret the dreams not as fiction, but as diagnosis, not as a metaphor, but as direct transmission from the subtle realm. Even in medieval Europe, before industry took hold, people slept in two parts. After the first few hours of sleep, they would awaken, not with frustration, but with purpose. They would read scripture, whisper intentions, write down dreams, meditate in the dark. This middle time, between first and second sleep, was seen as a sacred bridge, a space between worlds, a subtle hour where guidance was most clear. And it was understood that what happened in those hours, it was just as meaningful as anything that happened in daylight. So what changed? Why did we stop listening to the night? Because we stopped being still enough to hear it. We drowned it in artificial light, endless stimulation, and the cult of productivity. We reduced dreaming to an oddity. We laughed off intuition. We silenced the symbols that once shaped entire civilizations. And in doing so, we didn't just forget the subtle realm, we forgot how to find ourselves in it. But here's the truth. The body remembers. The soul never forgets. Even if you've never trained, even if you've never studied, even if you haven't remembered a dream in years, you are still crossing the threshold every night. The only difference is awareness, and awareness is what reactivates your birthright. You don't need to sleep in a temple to return to the ancient ways. You are the temple. Your bed is the altar. Your breath is the prayer. Your intention is the key. The subtle realm responds not to ritual, but to resonance. Before sleep, ask, may I remember what I need? May I walk with clarity? May I serve what is true? These are not empty words. They are frequencies, the gatekeepers of the invisible. Say them with presence, and the subtle realm opens. There is nothing new in what you're learning, only ancient truths returning to the surface. You are not beginning a path. You are rejoining one. A path walked by dreamers, sages, priests and mystics across millennia. And as you walk it, you are not only reclaiming your own power, you are reigniting the memory of a world that once knew how to listen to the dark, to dream, to heal, to travel with purpose, to walk, awake through the night. Chapter 3. The multi-layered architecture of the subtle realm. The subtle realm is not a single place. It is not a floating cloudland or a misty void. It is a living architecture, layered, luminous, infinite. Every night, when your consciousness slips from your body, it doesn't just go somewhere. It travels through something. It passes through levels, realms, strata of vibration so precise, so responsive, that every thought you carry alters the path you take. The subtle realm is structured, but not in physical terms. Its blueprint is frequency. Its walls are made of resonance. Its staircases spiral inwards, not upwards. And its gates don't open by force, but by intention. This is not a metaphor. This is how reality is built behind the illusion of form. And as your soul detaches in sleep, it enters these layers according to one law. Vibration attracts vibration. There are many names for these layers: the astral, the etheric, the mental, the causal, the celestial, the dreaming layer, the symbolic layer, the soul memory corridor, the akashic fields, the mirror realms, the healing chambers. Each tradition names them differently, but they all point to the same truth. You don't just enter the subtle realm, you move through it phase by phase, and that movement is determined not by time or space, but by the state of your inner world. Let us begin at the edge. The first layer is often called the threshold. It's the space just beyond the waking world. Here, the laws of physics begin to loosen, but haven't yet dissolved. You might see familiar places distorted. You might feel like you're dreaming of your house, your job, your city, but something is off. Doors lead to other places. Time moves strangely. Colors shimmer in ways you can't explain. This is the liminal plane. It is shaped by your personal subconscious, but also touches the collective dream field. You're still carrying the weight of the day here, still dragging the threads of thought, memory, and emotion from the waking world. Most people never go deeper than this, because they don't know they can. But if you cross that veil consciously, you enter the next layer, the dream immersion zone. Here, the forms become more fluid. Your inner world begins to project itself in more vivid ways. You fly, you change form, you meet beings, guides, and teachers. This is the playground of dreams, But it's not just play, it's the soul's theater, and everything you encounter here, every person, place, and sensation, is a coded reflection. Your fear, your desire, your longing, your truth, it all appears, dances with you and invites you into recognition. But this is still only the middle zone. There are deeper chambers waiting. Beyond this, the dreamer enters the symbolic strata. Here, language vanishes. Only image and emotion remain. You may find yourself in a storm with no sky. A room made of mirrors. You may speak without speaking, understand without explanation. This is where the soul speaks fluently. Here, every encounter is vibrational information, a transmission disguised as metaphor. A lion that stares at you might not be an animal. It might be a soul memory, a wound. A future possibility is asking for integration. This realm doesn't tolerate ego. It has no interest in logic, only presence, only openness. If you can surrender the need to understand, you will begin to receive. Beyond the symbolic realm there are the temples. These are not places, but frequencies of permission. Only when your vibration is aligned with certain truths, forgiveness, surrender, devotion, service, do these spaces open. Here there are libraries made of light, rooms of silence where healers work in energetic geometry, chambers where you are shown glimpses of your soul path, not as a prediction but as remembrance. These places often leave no clear memory. You wake up with nothing but a tear, a tremble, or a sudden shift in perspective. That's because the lesson was not mental. It was cellular. It was encoded into your field. These are not dreams. These are initiations, and deeper still. There is the void of origin. Rarely reached, never forced, only gifted in moments of total surrender. It is the formless zone. Beyond thought, beyond symbol, only pure presence. You may experience it as vastness, as colorless peace, as total dissolution. Here, there are no beings, no lessons, no mirrors, only you, before the idea of you. This space heals more than lifetimes. It heals the illusion of separation itself. And though you may never remember entering it, if you've touched it, you will know. Your life will never feel the same. These are the layers your soul swims through while the body sleeps, not always in one night, not always with clarity, but always, always with purpose. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are navigating an energetic terrain designed for your growth. And the more conscious you become of its architecture, the more freely you move through it. Because once you realize the subtle realm responds to your state of being, you stop chasing experiences. You begin to cultivate vibration. You ask not, what will I see, but what am I ready to receive? And the moment that question is sincere, the gate opens. So now you know, the subtle realm is not random. It is built with a purpose. And your path through it is shaped by your essence, not your effort. Each night you descend and rise. You spiral through layers of self and soul. You leave behind form and find something deeper, yourself without limits. This is the journey you've always been taking. Now you are simply awake to it. Chapter 4. The Sacred Hour. Returning to the portal between sleeps. There is a moment the world forgot. A sacred hour lost to the hum of machines and the glare of artificial light. An hour once honored across continents and centuries, now dismissed as restlessness, insomnia, or a sign of a disturbed mind. But it is not a disturbance. It is an invitation. This is the portal between sleeps, the holy space between the first descent and the second return. To modernize, it looks like nothing. A quiet awakening at 2 or 3 a.m., a body that stirs before dawn, a mind that is clear but unoccupied. You've probably experienced it. Eyes open, heart calm, and for some reason, a strange kind of peace surrounds you. This is not just a sleep pattern, it is a spiritual corridor. And if you walk through it with awareness, you will enter the subtle realm with clarity. Long ago, sleep was not a single, uninterrupted block. In homes lit only by fire and moonlight, people slept in 2 sacred halves. They would sleep for 4 or 5 hours, then wake softly, naturally. and remain awake for 1 or 2 hours before falling back into sleep. This wasn't seen as a problem. It was a ritual, a time to pray, to journal, to sit in silence, to reflect on dreams already received, or to prepare for the dreams still to come. They called this time the watch, the divine hour, or the quiet middle. And those who used it intentionally often returned to sleep with vision, with lucid encounters, vivid travels, and soul-deep healing. They understood something we've forgotten. The veil is thinnest not when you sleep, but when you hover between sleep and wakefulness. This portal hour is not random. It coincides with changes in body temperature, shifts in hormonal release, and alterations in brainwave activity. But deeper than biology, it marks a transition between layers in the subtle realm. If you rise during this window, you have a choice. Return to waking life and forget the night, or re-enter the subtle world with conscious intention. This is not about effort, it is about presence. To reclaim this hour is to reclaim your access to the parts of yourself that remain hidden in daylight, and once reclaimed, it becomes a doorway you can walk through at will. Here's what it might look like. You wake up at 3:11 a.m. You're not groggy. You're not wide-eyed. You're just here. Instead of reaching for your phone, you breathe. You stay in the dark. You let your body stay still. You don't force anything. You simply observe. And then you ask, what am I being shown? Where have I just come from? What remains undone tonight? These questions are not intellectual. They are energetic invitations. They tell the subtle realm, I am awake within the dream I am ready to remember. After a few moments of stillness, you return to sleep. But now the descent is different. You're not falling into oblivion. You're slipping into the stream with awareness. And from this state, you may re-enter a previous dream and complete a message. Receive visitations from guides who are waiting for the right moment. Initiate astral movement, feeling the vibrations of departure more clearly, or simply remain lucid in the dream state, walking with memory intact. All of this becomes possible because you answered the call of the portal hour, and once you answer it, the realm begins to respond. There are a few ways to prepare for this hour. 1. Reverence before bed. Before sleep, plant the seed. If I wake in the sacred hour, I will return with clarity. This sets your frequency. It primes the dream field. It signals your readiness. 2. Gentle awakening. If you do not wake naturally, you may softly train yourself. A non-jarring alarm, calming music, a soft tone near 3 a.m. to stir you into the threshold. Over time, your body will remember. 3. Sacred stillness. Do not turn on the lights. Do not speak. Do not think in words. Sit with the silence. Let the feeling guide you. Even 5 minutes of presence here alters what follows. 4. Return with intention. When you feel yourself drifting back into sleep, say inwardly, I re-enter the subtle realm with light. Let truth be shown. Let memory remain. These phrases are not for the mind. They are keys. The portal hour is not just a phase of sleep. It is a threshold between worlds. And when you begin to walk through it consciously, you realize something extraordinary. You don't need to wait for signs from the universe. You are swimming in them every night. You just needed to pause, to listen, to re-enter with your eyes wide open. You have always been more than a sleeper. You are a traveler, a listener, a bridge between silence and sound. The hour between sleeps is not wasted time. It is sacred terrain. And now that you remember it, you will never ignore it again. Chapter 5. The Beings of the Subtle Realm. You've never been alone in the subtle realm. Even when the dream felt silent, even when you wandered strange corridors or floated above cities you've never seen, you were seen, because this realm is not empty. It is inhabited, not by humans, not by gods, but by a tapestry of conscious intelligences, some ancient, some familiar, some mysterious. And when your soul crosses into the subtle dimension, it enters a living field of presence. Some of those presences come to guide you, others to test you. Some are aspects of you. Others are visitors from realms beyond your current understanding. You've met them already. in dreams that left you trembling, glowing, or changed, in sudden moments of clarity, peace, or primal fear. This is not superstition. This is recognition. You are remembering your relationship to the inhabitants of the invisible. Let's begin with the guides. These are not fantasy constructs. They are energetic beings assigned or magnetized to you through your soul's evolutionary journey. They may appear in many forms: a radiant figure in white or gold, a quiet presence with no face, but overwhelming peace, a being of light, color, or geometry, a voice not heard but felt that calms your entire being, a stranger in a dream who seems to know you more deeply than anyone ever has. These are helpers, not controllers. They do not interfere with your path. They offer invitations, nudges, protection, and information when you are ready. Their role is not to give you answers. Their role is to reawaken the answers already within you. Sometimes they guide you through healing rooms. Sometimes they point you toward a truth you're avoiding. Sometimes they simply stand beside you in a storm, not to stop it, but to remind you that you're not alone inside it. And if you've ever awakened from a dream feeling deeply held, profoundly understood, or inexplicably clear, that was their echo. Then there are the ancestral and soul family presences. These are not guides in the traditional sense. They are linked to your lineage, whether biological, spiritual, or karmic. They may appear as deceased loved ones, unfamiliar faces that stir ancient emotions, dream figures who seem to carry your memory in their eyes, beings who speak no words but transmit recognition in a single gaze. Sometimes these are your soul companions, those who travel with you through lifetimes. Other times, they are ancestors offering gifts, blessings, or unfinished energy to be healed. Their visits can be brief, but their imprint is lasting. They appear when the timing is precise, often around major life shifts, internal awakenings, or deep emotional cycles. And while they may not always speak in language, their message is always clear. We are with you. You are not alone. Remember who you are. But not all beings in the subtle realm come in light. There are also the shadow intelligences, not evil, not monsters, but reflections. They emerge from unprocessed emotion, from fear you've buried, from power you've denied. They may appear as dark figures that chase you through dreams, distorted faces in mirrors, rooms filled with pressure or dread, conversations that rattle you awake, unsure if they were dreams or something more. These beings are not here to harm you. They are mirrors of your unresolved frequencies. They test your boundaries. They offer you a choice. Will you run? Will you fight? Or will you look at them and say, what part of me do you represent? Because when you face them not with fear but with curiosity and sovereignty, they change. Many times they dissolve. Other times they transform, revealing the gift hidden beneath the mask. This is not fantasy. This is energetic alchemy, and it is part of your training in the subtle realm. Some of the most profound encounters, however, are with beings of pure frequency. They have no face, no voice, no shape. They may appear as fields of color, waves of sound, symbols that vibrate, or presences that enter you and shift your internal state without explanation. These are transmission entities, not personalities, but energy signatures carrying information beyond thought. You may return from these encounters with a sudden clarity in your waking life, a healed emotional wound you didn't realize had been touched, a new ability, insight, or level of compassion, or simply the unshakable sense that something has changed inside you. You don't need to understand them. You only need to receive, and receiving begins with this mindset. Whatever serves my evolution is welcome. Whatever is distortion, may it pass through without landing. I walk with light. I return with truth. So how do you prepare to meet these beings? You align your field before sleep. Clear your emotional energy. Forgive what still aches. Set the intention. Tonight, I welcome only those energies that serve the highest light within me. You don't need ritual robes or ancient languages. You need sincerity, stillness, and a willingness to remember. Because when you walk into the subtle realm with awareness, The beings who dwell there notice, and they respond. One final truth: some of these beings you meet are you. You are from another life. You are from another timeline. You are becoming, or you as you've forgotten. In the subtle realm, identity is a fluid mirror, and sometimes the teacher you bow to turns and reveals your own face. So don't rush to define, don't demand labels, breathe, feel, listen, and trust. The subtle realm introduces you only to what you're ready to hold. Chapter 6. Mirror Selves. Meeting you in other timelines. You think you are one person, one mind, one life, one story. But in the subtle realm, that illusion dissolves, and what's left is the truth. You are many. You are living simultaneously across timelines, dimensions, and realities. Each version of you, each thread, tells a different story. Some joyful, some tragic. Some are nearly identical to this life, others radically different. And every night, as you cross into the subtle realm, you step into the neighborhood of your mirror selves. These aren't fantasies. They're not dreams in the traditional sense. They are encounters, real, impactful, soul-woven. You've met these other yous before. You just didn't know how to recognize them. Until now. Have you ever dreamed of living another life? One where the city was different, the people unfamiliar, yet you felt at home, like you belonged there? Have you ever seen yourself in a dream, but were not quite as you are? A different body, a different temperament, a different fate. Or perhaps you've felt emotions in a dream so strong, so foreign to your current life, that they left you shaken for days. Grief for a loss you never experienced, love for someone you've never met, regret for something you never did. These are echoes from your other selves, not as memories, as collisions, fleeting moments where your vibration intersects with another aspect of you, one shaped by different choices, paths, and lessons. In the subtle realm, these intersections happen naturally, because the veils between timelines are thin when the soul is unbound. Your consciousness is not linear, it is holographic. That means you are not just evolving in this life, you are evolving across many, simultaneously. And the subtle realm is the place where these lines cross. This is why spiritual teachers have long spoken about soul fragments, parallel realities, and quantum selves. Because in dreams, and especially in lucid states, you can visit these alternate yous, not just to observe, but to learn, to integrate, to heal across timelines. Sometimes these mirror selves appear as dream characters, a version of you who took the road you abandoned, a version of you who followed a passion you gave up, a version of you who fell into addiction or rose into mastery. When you meet them, you may feel a strange tension. You may feel envy or sorrow or recognition, because these versions carry the codes you need, fragments of energy, wisdom, or courage that can be reintegrated into this self. These meetings are not accidental, they are scheduled by the soul to remind you that you are not limited to one destiny, that at any moment you can shift by absorbing what another version of you already knows. Some encounters are gentle. You may find yourself speaking with someone who feels like an old friend. They know you, they encourage you, they hand you an object or speak a phrase or simply walk with you in silence, and when you wake, you feel strengthened, whole. Like something that was missing has quietly returned, that someone was you, another you, offering a piece of the puzzle you've been looking for. Other encounters are more intense. You may see a version of yourself in pain, lost, angry, grieving. You may feel their sadness or their numbness long after waking. These aren't punishments, they are invitations. They show you what you've avoided, or what you've healed, or what you still carry unconsciously across the threads of identity. In the subtle realm, every version of you is accessible, not to overwhelm you, but to reveal the totality of your being. And your job is not to fix or judge these selves. Your job is to witness them with love, because your presence, your compassionate awareness, can trigger healing, not just here and but there. You might wonder, if there are other me's, why do I only live one life? Because this life, the one you're in right now, is the anchor, the conscious point through which integration occurs. Think of this version of you as the central hub, and every dream, every meeting with another self is a chance to bring home a frequency, a memory, or a lesson. You don't have to remember the details. You'll know it by the shift. A fear dissolves overnight. A decision becomes clear. A new confidence rises without explanation. This is the alchemy of soul merging. It happens not through control, but through surrender, through allowing the subtle realm to show you more of you. So how can you open to these encounters more consciously? You start with intention. Before sleep, say, if any aspect of me is ready to return, let us meet in grace. Let me welcome what I have left behind. Let me become what I truly am. These words are not commands, they are keys. You don't need to chase your mirror selves. They will appear when the timing is aligned. Your role is to remain present, to write what you feel upon waking, to honor the shifts that occur without a story, to walk with the quiet knowing that more of you have returned. You are not just a single strand in the web of consciousness. You are the web itself, woven across lifetimes, choices, and dimensions. And every night the subtle realm gives you the chance to remember, to meet yourself, to hold yourself, to reintegrate your scattered light into a greater whole. This is not science fiction. This is the soul truth, and it is happening already. Each time you sleep, each time you dream, each time you wake, you feel different. You are becoming all of you. Chapter 7. The Language of Light. Decoding Symbolic Messages. In the subtle realm, nothing speaks in straight lines. There are no road signs, no alphabet, no instructions are printed in black and white. And yet, everything communicates. A tree, a glance, a color, a mountain that crumbles into birds, a doorway that appears in your childhood bedroom. This is not randomness. This is the soul's language, a language made not of grammar and logic, but of light, vibration, image, and emotion. And if you can learn to listen, you'll realize your dreams have been speaking to you in this dialect all your life. You just forgot how to read the light. Let's begin with a simple truth. Words belong to the mind. Symbols belong to the soul. That's why, in the subtle realm, symbols are not decorations. They are transmissions. A snake doesn't just mean danger or healing. It activates a frequency in you. It stirs cellular memory. It bypasses the intellect and touches your deepest emotional code. A spiral may look like a pattern, but to the soul, it is a key, a call to enter, a reminder of inward movement, an echo of your original shape. In this realm, everything is a message, and the way it speaks is through resonance. So, how do you understand these messages? First, stop trying to analyze. The intellect wants to solve, to dissect, to assign meaning like a dictionary. But in the subtle realm, a symbol doesn't have meaning. It has meaning. It arrives with an energetic charge, and that charge lands in the body. You don't think it. You feel it. Have you ever had a dream where you woke up with a single image? A staircase, a broken mirror, a stranger's eyes? You didn't know what it meant. But it haunted you, it called to you. That's not confusion. That's communication. It's your soul saying, there is something here. Stay with it. Every dream, every vision, every subtle encounter carries this language. It's a transmission of light-coded symbolism. A message designed not to be explained, but absorbed. This is why so many mystical traditions emphasized imagery over instruction. Egyptian hieroglyphs were more than language. They were containers of energy. Tibetan thangkas weren't paintings. They were living blueprints of the subtle cosmos. Alchemical texts were not literal. They were symbolic maps of inner transformation. And in the subtle realm, your soul uses the same mechanics. It paints stories with metaphor. It weaves symbols into your sleep, not to trick you, but to awaken you. Because symbols are memory triggers. They activate parts of your being that linear thought can't reach. Let's go deeper. There are 3 layers to the symbolic language of the subtle realm. 1. Personal symbols. These come from your life. They carry emotional resonance only you can interpret. Your grandmother's necklace, the street you grew up on, a specific song or animal that has followed you since childhood. When these appear in dreams, they are not just memories. They are portals into deeper truths. They connect you to soul fragments, timelines, or unhealed echoes. Pay attention not just to the image, but to the feeling it evokes. That is your first dictionary. 2. Archetypal symbols. These live in the collective unconscious. They're recognized across cultures, religions, and mythologies. The wise old man, the dark forest, the golden child, the dragon, the cave, the bridge, the crown. These are not clichés. They are codes. Each one vibrates with a particular phase of soul evolution. Carl Jung called them archetypes, but to the ancient mind, they were guides. When they show up in your dreams, they mark a threshold. You are not just dreaming, you are being invited into initiation. 3. Light symbols. These are the rarest and most profound. You may see geometries, you may feel pulses of light or hear tones that carry no words but leave you changed. You may see symbols you've never seen before, and yet feel they belong to you. These are higher dimensional transmissions. They don't explain, they transform. When you encounter them, don't try to capture them with language. Write them, sketch them, hum them if you must, but mostly feel what they stir. They may activate dormant memory, or trigger emotional releases, or silently shift the way you move through the world. That is their gift. You don't need to become an expert in dream symbolism. You need to become a listener. A dream journal is not just a notebook, it's a receiver. Each time you record a symbol, you honor its arrival, and each time you reflect on its emotional signature, you sharpen your inner decoder. The soul won't shout, it will whisper in color. It will speak in animals, objects, architecture, and atmosphere. And if you pause, if you ask, "What are you showing me?" and listen with your skin, your breath, your bones, the message will unfold. Not in one night, but over time like a tapestry weaving itself thread by thread. You are not lost in your dreams. You are being spoken to. You are not confused. You are being called home, one symbol at a time. So the next time you wake with an image, a sound, a feeling, don't dismiss it, don't dissect it, hold it, feel it, write it, because every message in the subtle realm is an act of love. Your soul reaching across dimensions to say, this is who you are, this is who you're becoming, don't forget. Chapter 8. Missions of the Night. Your soul's higher work. There are nights when you close your eyes and expect nothing more than rest, but instead, you wake up, changed, more tired than you should be, heavy with a sadness you cannot explain, or stirred by a sense that something real happened, something important, but you just can't quite remember what. You didn't just sleep, you served. Because when the body goes still and the personality recedes, your soul often steps forward into its higher role, one you agreed to long before you entered this life. You are not here merely to experience, you are here to assist, and the subtle realm is where much of that assistance unfolds, silently, invisibly outside the awareness of your waking self. But the effects are real, and the calling is ancient. In this unseen world, your soul responds to what your mind never hears. It steps into places the physical world cannot access. Sometimes you hold space for someone you've never met. You might guide a lost soul through a place of confusion simply by being present. You might become the voice that comforts a stranger in their dream, saying exactly what they needed to hear, then vanish without recognition. And yet, that person wakes up altered, healed, calmed. They don't know your name, but you were there. You were the light. Other times, your work is vibrational. You don't speak, you don't move. You are simply placed in a space, energetic, symbolic, sacred, and you hold a frequency. A kind of quiet radiance pours through you into a space of need. You stand on the edge of a dream battlefield. You walk through a city made of cracked glass and grey skies. You hum a tune. You kneel in a temple with no roof and release grief that isn't even yours. You don't know what you're doing, and yet, you know. This work is real. It has always been real. Sometimes you assist those in transition, souls hovering in dense zones of confusion, fear, or trauma. You become a lantern, a presence that reminds them they are not alone. You don't rescue them. You don't force them into the light. You simply offer remembrance. And that is often enough. There are nights when you are sent deeper, into places where memory still bleeds, where timelines fracture, where certain vibrations still echo with pain. You may dream of war zones you've never lived through, of children whose names you don't know, of places that look nothing like Earth, but feel impossibly familiar. When you wake from these dreams, you may feel raw, disoriented, and drained, because part of you stayed behind a little longer to finish the work. And some nights, you are not there to give, you are there to receive. You may be taken to rooms of light where no one speaks, but everything is known. You lie down on a surface made of vibration. You are surrounded by beings who don't look human, but feel like kin. They do not speak, but you understand everything. You are given symbols, downloads, and energetic recalibrations. You might return with no memory, but you find yourself thinking differently the next day, loving more easily, fearing less, acting with courage that once eluded you. Something was given, and though the mind cannot recall it, the soul integrates it. These missions are not random. They are not proof of spiritual superiority. They are acts of resonance. The soul responds to the places that match its frequency. And your frequency, in its essence, is built not just for learning, but for offering. Your very presence becomes medicine. Even when you don't know what you're doing, the subtle realm does. And so, the question isn't whether you're being called. You already are. The question is, will you remember? There is no need for grand rituals or arcane invocations, only sincerity. Before you sleep, speak softly to your deeper self. If I am needed tonight, I offer myself with love. If I am called, let me go where I'm most useful. Let my return be whole. Then you rest. You don't need to try. Your soul knows the way. Signs of your missions may linger in subtle ways. You wake with someone's name on your lips. You carry an emotion all day that doesn't belong to this life. You have the sudden urge to reach out to someone, and when you do, they say they'd just been thinking of you. You write a line in your journal and realize it came from a dream you can't quite recall, or maybe you feel a deep stillness, a kind of holy exhaustion, not from effort, but from contact. That is enough. This work is not always remembered, but it is always received. You are already doing it, even when you sleep, especially when you sleep, because this world is not healed only by action. It is healed by frequency, by the quiet ones, by the dreamers, by those who know that light can be carried through silence. You are one of them. You have always been. So tonight, when you fall asleep, don't think of it as rest. Think of it as a departure, an appointment not with fate, but with purpose, a return to the invisible temple where every breath becomes a thread of healing. You are not just dreaming, you are remembering, you are serving, and you are never alone. Final conclusion. You are the subtle realm. You've traveled far, though you never left your bed. You've crossed thresholds behind the veil of silence. You've touched memories that live outside of time. You've walked through the landscape of your own becoming. You've listened to voices that had no mouths. You've felt truths without language. You've cried without knowing why, and awakened with a knowing too deep to explain. And now, you remember. The subtle realm is not something you enter. It's something you've always belonged to. It is not a distant dimension or a secret reserved for mystics or saints. It is your reflection, your origin, your breath. You are not just a body that dreams. You are a consciousness that extends into spaces so vast, so delicate, so alive, that they shimmer beneath your skin and between your thoughts. Every night you return to it. Every morning you carry it back, tucked in symbols, emotions, strange phrases that follow you through the day like forgotten songs. The truth is this: You are the subtle realm. It lives through you. It speaks through your visions, your intuition, your longings. It moves through your hands when you comfort a friend. It vibrates in your voice when you speak from your heart. You are not visiting the invisible. You are the invisible made visible. The architecture you've explored, those dream temples, healing chambers, timelines, and stars. They are not out there. They are within you. The soul does not travel to find. It travels to remember. Every symbol that appeared in your sleep was a key. Every face you met was a part of your own whole. Every realm you passed through was constructed by your resonance, shaped by your readiness, and opened by your willingness to feel. And now you see what has always been true. You are not falling asleep to rest. You are falling into yourself. You are entering the spaces between breath, the codes behind color, the light behind the image. You are dissolving into meaning and re-emerging with memory. The veil was never a wall. It was a mirror. And now that it's been touched, you'll never unsee it again. You may go back to your ordinary life. You may sit at your desk, fold laundry, answer emails, pay bills, but part of you will always know that this life is only half the map, and every night you walk the other half in silence. You'll begin to notice the echoes, how dream symbols start appearing in your waking life, how your emotions shift with no external cause, how clarity arrives, not from thinking, but from remembering. You are being reassembled, piece by piece, night by night, not into someone new, but in the whole you've always been. The subtle realm is not a destination. It's a reflection of your eternal nature. It is the sky inside your chest, the ocean in your breath, the timeless hum beneath your heartbeat. So sleep no longer as a forgetful wanderer. Sleep as a traveler of light, as one who remembers the way, as one who walks with purpose, even through dreams. Tonight, when your head meets the pillow, do not say you are falling asleep. Say instead, I am crossing, I am remembering, I am returning. Because now you know, you were never only human. You were always a bridge, a living flame, a dream dreaming itself. You are the subtle realm, and the journey has only just begun.